your time for this side. So Alex, once again, thank you for the team. There's Ice here, and there's so many, maybe from the chat, maybe from the introduction, maybe probably during the question and answer, probably they might do some introduction for you to get them to know them. So we just want to discuss about the impact of IoT, especially with your background from the transport and logistics. So maybe you can just take us through who is Alex, what is Alex bringing in South Africa in regards to logistics and mobility.
Okay, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you everyone at FlexSwitch, ICL and everyone else. So my name is Alex Munene. I'm a fleet mobility expert. So my background basically is 18 years in fleet management and transport. So I've been in a number of roles. About 2 years was in a public bus transport company. So I was running the workshop for a bus transport company in Nairobi City called City Hopper. And then after that, I was able to in Toyota Kenya, which is the distributor for Toyota Suzuki in Yamaha in Kenya. And from an after-sales role, where we're able to manage a lot of the after-sale accounts, big corporate. And I slowly transitioned to a sales role because of managing the relationship, and it grew into a leasing function because of managing the fleet clients. And from this year, I founded a startup called Advanced Mobility, which gives solutions in 3 main areas. So the first one is fleet management and consulting. So we are the partner for the Strathmore Business School. So that's like the, one of the top business schools in the country. So we offer the fleet management course there twice a year. And we also do consulting for various organizations in that space. We also offer advanced driver training. So advanced driving is just basically a fancy name for any driver training which you need to have a license first. So defensive driving, 4x4 driving, eco driving, those kind of programs. Right now, we are partnered with one of the electric bus companies in Kenya to develop an EV training course. Because the gap we realized is that many of the EV players are focusing a lot on the hardware and the infrastructure. They are leaving out the user. So we are coming up with an EV training course, which we shall be rolling out in December of this year. So the last aspect is basically what we call adoption of mobility solutions, which means we help fleet operators transition to connected, autonomous, shared, and electric vehicles. So the acronym is CASE. And we are helping them to transition basically to the future of mobility as defined by those four letters. So I think I'll be able to explain further as we move along, if that's okay.
Sure. So now from your scope of work, basically from the fleet management, because you have dealt both with public transport, you have dealt with the corporate sector side. What do you think is going to be the impact of mobility from your own field, what you are looking at, especially in the East African region, in terms of mobility, in terms of efficiency?
I think one of the interesting things, if I can give a background, is that if you look at most of Africa, there are a lot of places which we say completely jumped the computer era. So they moved from before computers to smartphones. So they didn't go through the normal transition that the rest of the world did, moving from before computers to computers and then to smartphones. So right now we are seeing a similar kind of transition from the traditional ICE vehicles, petrol and diesel, to EV vehicles. A lot of the players coming into the African market, they are coming much more, very, very aggressively, and not in a delayed milestone the way previously you'd find that, the vehicles are launched in the first world and then they take another 5 to 10 years before they enter the African market. So I think that aspect is coming out quite strongly. The second one is that most of the sources of energy in Africa, there's plenty of renewable energy. So again, it makes a very solid case for EV transition, because when you compare to other places in the world which have not very good weather, Africa has plenty of sunshine, plenty of wind power, and plenty of hydropower. So it means when the EV is operating in Africa, they have a much better, much less carbon footprint, not just by the operation, but even the source of the energy which is charging them is already a renewable source. So I think those are the two factors that I'm seeing that are really accelerating that drive to mobility, and that's why I really decided to enter this space as a startup. I'm less than a year old, so I think we are all of us sharing ideas in this space. I'm not the full expert yet, but I've learned a lot in 1 year of being in the startup space, to the extent that now I'm talking about IoT, and I didn't imagine I would be in this depth of discussion or even rolling out IoT type of products in such a short time.
Sure. So, like you, from your company, there are 3 services you have offered, and I believe there are certain traction that you did. Like recently, you are with some of the border guys, the tuk-tuk, the electric tuk-tuks. So, how do you see it in IoT coming to play out in terms of logistics, that angle that you took?
I think IoT is so broad. So I think I'll try and specialize on the transport and logistics aspect first. And especially when it comes to the EV vehicles, the first thing that you notice that battery management is very key. Before we even talk about the charging infrastructure, the cost of the vehicles, which is prohibitively high at the moment, so that's a big barrier to entry. The IoT solution that is already coming out as center of the success of the operation of EV vehicles is battery management. Because if that is not managed well, then the battery gets degraded and it does not do the full lifespan, which I think for most EVs would be about 6-7 years. But if that's not well managed, then you find that the battery life is shortened, especially if it's being used on a quick charging type of operation. There are many other examples which I could give as far as the IoT space is concerned. Just today morning we were having a discussion with one of our potential clients, but they are looking at solutions in the agriculture space, still IoT. The beauty with IoT is that a lot of the infrastructure is the same, and it is applicable for once you set up the infrastructure, then you can use it for many solutions within that IoT space. The second one is what probably I think already you're doing with SIM control, which is the global SIM kind of solution. But there are many others from cold chain solutions, from infrastructure monitoring, asset management, because what we do in fleet management, we are basically managing people, we're managing vehicles and other assets related to the vehicles. So we find that IoT is a very key part of having full visibility of what is happening in the operations of the organization. I think one of the challenges we realize in transport and logistics is that the vehicle is a mobile asset and it's multifunctional. So those are the two things which make fleet management such a headache, especially in Africa, because there's fleet management in aircraft and in ships as well. But those other two assets, they are not multifunctional. You can't take a ship home, you can't take an aircraft home. You can't use them to carry your personal things or do other errands. But the fact that a vehicle is multifunctional and and it is a mobile asset, so it's not like a generator which is stationed somewhere and is not moving. So that is one aspect, the two aspects which make the management of transport such a big challenge. I don't know about maybe like South Africa market, but I can tell you like in our market, Brian, we can count on our fingers companies in transport and fleet which are more than 20 years. Why? Because they have a very high failure rate. They are not. Most of them don't set up structures. It's already a challenging business. Most of them don't set up structures, a franchise kind of model, and then there are some challenges which again are unique to the African market. For example, capital we know is a big challenge, whether for private or public projects. And anytime you're talking about transport, then you need an asset deployed on the ground. So the challenges are, there are three main challenges that we tell our clients. The first one is capital, how to handle that. And that's why some of the solutions we discuss about are leasing, which I have a background in. The second one is corruption. If you are in Africa, you are dealing with public bodies, then that is a big impediment to efficient deployment of your solution. And the third one is culture. The culture we're dealing with of the people on the road, of the people we are employing, again is a big challenge. There's an image we normally use when we are carrying out our risk management training, and we use it side by side. I think I'll try and share it before the end of the training. There's an image which was shared in February online when the war broke out in Ukraine. And it was this image of vehicles nicely queuing to leave the city. So you can imagine the city is being bombed and people are very orderly. And then there's another image of a Kenyan road when people are going out of town on a weekend. And a 2-lane road is converted into 7-8 lanes. People are just all over the place, and they're just going for a weekend. So there's so much, there's that culture of non-compliance, if I can call it that an operator needs to have at the back of their minds when they're setting up. So back to the use cases for IoT, whether it's asset tracking, whether it's cold chain storage, infrastructure tracking, smart parking solutions, container tracking. I think if you try to clear a container in Kenya, sometimes you find they are going into the app to look for containers and they can't find them. And you are told, go, you look for your container and you find it, call us, we come and clear for you. Those are the kind of challenges you find in a lot of storage or ports within Africa. Predictive maintenance is another one, because you can't rely on the operators to properly maintain the assets at the right timing. So IoT is giving solutions in that space as well. Moving up to air quality management, because we are talking about energy, we're talking about factory workshop setup. So there's a lot of use cases for IoT. As long as there's an operation which you can use a sensor to get information, then that one can replace a human being getting that information. And those are some of the use cases for IoT that I can think of from the top of my head.
Sure, Alex. That was a very informative. So you had said you had one of your presentation. We really want to maybe take us through one of your presentation. Maybe we see what mobility does, and maybe from there, some of my colleagues can really ask a question and see maybe what is Advanced really doing, how efficient the solutions are bringing to the market, and what is the opportunities for us as a space within East Africa, especially in regards to logistics and transport.
Okay, there's an image I was looking for. I don't know. Sorry, I can't find it. Let me. Okay, I'll look for that image, and also I don't know if we have time to go through the profile for advanced mobility, but I think a lot of the opportunities that would be looking at is within the IoT space. Number one, is that IoT is such a great leveler that it's a direction of technology as a service, or a platform as a service. That as long as you have a strong technical partner offering the technology, then almost anybody can jump on board and utilize it. whether for themselves directly or as a reseller to the market. Here I am offering IoT solutions to Kenyan market, and I've barely been in this space for a year. Because a lot of the solutions that are jumping on board are, technology as a service or platform as a service kind of solution. So I think that there's a big opportunity for a provider like FlickSwitch to jump into that space. The second thing is, from my understanding, FlickSwitch uses a cellular kind of IoT network, which is good, but there are some places where you find there is no cell phone coverage. So there are one of the opportunities would be, getting a solution which is also non-cellular. So whether it uses satellite or some other kind of connectivity or some other kind of network, then that would be an interesting solution. So like Advanced Mobility is now the partner for the LoRaWAN network. So the solutions we offer are mainly from the LoRa Alliance, which is one of the three big IoT networks globally. The three of them, of course, are NB IoT, Sigfox, and LoRaWAN. So for us, we've studied the three and we figured out that LoRaWAN is one which gives us the opportunity to penetrate the market in a unique way as compared to the other two. Plus the fact that the other two already had partners, big partners in Kenya, so that was probably another driving force for us working with the LoRaWAN.
Sure. Maybe if any of the team may have a question, for Alex from KISS. Please welcome.
Alex, thanks so much for spending time with us today, and it's interesting to hear about your journey so far. So you say Advanced Mobility has been operating for about a year in the Kenyan market. What would you say is your most successful product to date?
I would say the product which has given us much traction is the fleet management training and consulting. Because what we found out, we've already partnered with Strathmore Business School, which is a prestigious, business institution in Kenya. And what we found out is that a lot of fleet operators in Kenya have grown organically. So someone started a business with 2-3 vehicles. In 2 years or 10 years, they are at 20, they are at 200, but they don't have the structures. They are still operating the same way they had when they had 2 or 10. And that gives them a big headache of managing the vehicles. Some of them even now, the vehicles becomes like the core operation instead of whatever business they started out with, and some are not even in transport. So for us, the fleet management solution has given us quite some traction. I would say that's the number one. That's the number one. Yeah.
And maybe just a follow-up. So we've seen quite a lot of success in Kenya with clients in the speed governor industry. Mm-hmm. Is speed governor something you also play in?
Not at the moment. I think IoT devices are the first kind of installation or hardware that we are jumping into, because it's a totally new space. So we think there's a big opportunity there. But in terms of other devices like speed governors, tracking devices, we've tried to keep away from that space, mainly for two reasons. That there's a lot of players in that space who are just offering product. So it's not very attractive for us. And then secondly, like I told you, number one, we are fleet management consultants or fleet mobility consultants. So when we come in with a piece of hardware, it's very easy for the client to think that any feedback we are giving them in regards to a product they already have is that we are trying to kick out, whatever vendor they are using so that we can push in our product. So that we're able to get an objective reception and discussions with the client, we've avoided, offering, hardware or those kind of equipments which would be competing with what the client already has. So IoT is an exception because it's new, and yeah, it solves problems which even the client doesn't know. So we think we are excited on that.
I was quite surprised that you said that EV vehicles were quite prevalent in Kenya. What's your perception? Like, how many electric vehicles are there on the road? Sort of what percentage of new vehicles sold are actually electrical vehicles in Kenya these days?
Okay, so they are not prevalent. I think maybe I meant that there are a lot of players who've come in the market in the last 2 years. So I think total EV vehicles in Kenya is less than. Okay, let me not make a guess, but I know there's most of them are 2 and 3 wheelers. So we have about 5 companies dealing with buses. I think 2 are dealing with buses. 3 are dealing with vehicles, 4-wheel vehicles, and then the rest, about 15 to 20, are in the 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers. So this is tuk-tuks, motorbikes, and e-bikes. So numbers, we don't have a proper reporting like we have for the regular motor industry, where we know how many trucks have been sold. So I think the numbers are not readily available as of now. But interestingly, this weekend we shall be having an e-mobility expo by the players in the EV market. So probably I'll be able to gather a bit more data on how many. But I know, especially e-bikes, within Nairobi, a lot of delivery services now are taking up e-bikes to replace motorbikes. So I mean, even Brian will tell you, if you look at a lot of the fast food deliveries, you'll find they are on e-bikes, which I think because of the cost is easier to adopt and has a bigger, better return even to the rider than buying a motorbike. So numbers not clear at the moment, but players, we have over 20 players, and they are very well organized, very vocal. So we are watching the space.
I think we are quite jealous because at the moment in South Africa we don't have reliable power, so we'll keep burning fossil fuels for the time being, I think. I don't know if you know this, but load shedding is back in force in South Africa. So on any given day, the power is off between 2 and 4 hours or so.
Wow.
I believe it's a temporary state of being, but it does undermine optimism around electrical vehicles, because you have to charge those things.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge if you're having that kind of power rationing. For Kenya, so far it's stable, and the good thing with Kenya is that 70% of our energy is from renewable sources, because most of it is from hydro dams and geothermal sources. I think Kenya also has the largest wind in Africa, so space it makes a better case even for carbon credits. The country they are operating in has such a big source of renewable energy. And by the way, I think I was studying somewhere that over 50% of venture capital funds in Kenya are in transport, logistics, and supply chain solutions. So I think this space will definitely get much more investment even as we move forward, because the infrastructure gap in Africa is so big. Yeah.
But let me ask you, Alex, in regards to the perspective that the e-bikes, the batteries were a challenge, especially when you want to replace the bikes. So what is the biggest challenge how are you countering that, especially in the transport industry in Kenya? Because that used to be a huge hindrance, especially when pushing towards the e-motorbikes, the e-vehicles. You remember the taxi no fare, which actually had a challenge completely because it was 100% electric.
Yes.
So how are you guys countering that?
For us, we are assisting the players in the EV space to come up with a total cost of ownership, so that they're able to convince the operator that he's making more money with an EV vehicle than with an ICE vehicle. And one thing we've realized is the smaller the vehicle, then the cost discussion becomes much easier. So like for the motorbikes, for the e-bike, or the three-wheelers, the tuk-tuks, when you look at the total cost of ownership, most of them we find that before the end of the second year of operation, the EV vehicle is already in the money. So from the third year is like, pure profit up to whatever time the battery will die. But the bigger the vehicle, then that becomes much harder, because I think some of the buses, for example, retailing in the Kenya market, the EV bus, their 51-seater is 15 million shillings. That is a very steep cost. So, and the other thing we've realized is that for the EV vehicles to have a better cost of ownership than an ICE vehicle, then they need to be high mileage used vehicles. So for example, like school transport, which is only used in the morning and the evening, that doesn't work. It needs to be a public service vehicle, which is always on the road the whole day, or a delivery vehicle or a delivery rider kind of operation. So if you don't reach a certain threshold of mileage, then the EV vehicle the economics don't work out. So there are some organizations here which are getting EV because it is trendy, and we kind of discourage that because the numbers are not good. It needs a high use kind of situation, high mileage. Again, on the Nokia ride, the issue with the Nokia ride was, number one, Nokia ride was importing second-hand Nissan Leaf. So that was one of the challenge. The lifespan left was not big, and then they were hiring out to taxi drivers. So the repayment rate, the daily rate was too high for the drivers to be able to pay up. So that's why most of them ended up returning the vehicle. So it was not really an issue with the vehicles, but more the financing arrangement was not sustainable for the drivers. So we discourage second-hand EVs. I mean, it totally throws out the numbers. We need to start from new, so that the cost of ownership is good for the operator.
Nice. There's something I've seen you're training, probably in regards to your training. Now, this is the person that now you have given the asset now, the drivers. What
Yes.
impact does your training have for this now? I've given out my car now.
Mm-hmm.
From your training angle side, what is the impact, the value from the customer side? That now our drivers have come to your course.
Yes.
So what value return once they have been given the vehicles?
For us, the main thing we sell is that the driver is the ultimate driver of costs in the vehicle. If we can use that term, driver is the driver of cost, because you will find that they determine what kind of repairs you will incur. They'll determine the wear and tear, the resale value of the vehicle. So for us, we put a lot of focus on the users who are the drivers, and we're able to give an operator a 10% saving on a daily basis, even on fuel alone, from the drivers we've trained compared to the drivers we've not trained. And then you extrapolate that over a period of time or certain mileage, then you find there's a big difference. Actually, that difference becomes a competitive advantage from the driver who is trained and the driver who is not trained. So that's why we focus so much on the driver, because he's actually the person in charge of maintenance. If you look at a normal vehicle, assuming it goes into the workshop, once in a month, but who is the person who has it 29 days in a month? Is the driver. So a lot of times we are trying to change the perception that maintenance is not a workshop function, the technician or whoever. Maintenance is the work of the driver. He's one who knows when there's a squeak in the vehicle, when the consumption has gone high or low, when the performance is not good, and he's the one who's able to do something about it on a daily basis. By the time it gets to the workshop, it's a bit too late. If I was to compare it, it's like saying health is a function of, the patient, not the doctor. The doctor just provides support when things go out of hand. But on a day-to-day basis, the health of the person is their own responsibility. So that's the same principle we are applying.
Nice. Maybe anybody from the team, from maybe IS, what you might want to ask? Or even you, Alex, probably something that you can try to shoot to the team.
When can we meet in Cape Town?
Come, we're ready for you. It's a bit windy today, but that's the view from the office.
Wow. If you're trying to make me feel bad, then you succeeded.
You're lucky, you've got power.
Let's exchange. I'll give you the power, you give me the destination.
Yeah.
So Aisa, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex, and Brian, thank you for organizing the event. I think it's very good to have you, Alex, here. And that's all on my side.
Yeah, Alex, the last question from me is, when are you signing up for a self-control account?
I'll have that discussion with Brian. Yeah,
we don't yet offer LoRaWAN, but it's super interesting to hear you say that that is your connectivity method of choice. It'd be interesting to explore if there's an opportunity there.
Keith, there are two opportunities you've been pushing with Alex. The one that he talked about, the agriculture. So basically, there's something that is really exploring, and then the other one, because he has some partners that he's referring to the company. So we are looking at either two models. The first one was for the agriculture will be direct. The other, this model can be maybe to refer to his partner. So once we come with a model, then already we'll be coming inside.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Alex, we found our best clients. We've been doing this for 15 years. The best clients are clients that we work with from the stage that they're very small. I guess you are only 1 year into your journey. We try to be flexible and we try to be accommodating, and we don't lock clients into any type of solution. So we'd love to help you grow, and I'm sure there's room for a symbiotic relationship between us.
Definitely, I think we can pursue that, because even for LoRaWAN, some of the solutions are not that cheap for the client. So I think let's pursue that discussion.
Right. But thank you, Brian, for setting it up, and Isel for coordinating, and everybody else for being here. And Alex, thank you very much for your time. It's good to get to know you a little bit today. And if you come to Cape Town, you're welcome to visit.
Okay, I'll give you a buzz. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Brian.
So much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.